Alright, he's still struggling to decipher his ancient texts that he left before he learned to read.
Welcome back, my friends. I can see you've not neglected your training. For my part, I fear that deciphering the ancient chronicles of my people is proving to be a much more demanding task than I had imagined. Mind you, it hasn't helped that I've been somewhat preoccupied of late. A comrade of mine from my days in the company of heroes asked me to do a favor, and it's taken me back and forth across the realm like some bloody fairy. I'm on a hunt for some mysterious feral beast that's been terrorizing small folk. People don't know where this monstrosity came from, but, witnesses say that the thirst for blood is unlike anything they've ever seen. Unfortunately, the time I spent in pursuit of the beast is time I have not spent studying the chronicles, and I'm sorry to say I have made little progress. However, while on the road, I was able to decipher one passage that may be of interest to us both. From what I can gather, the chronicles tell of an ancient set of armor, forged by my ancestors in the flames of the seven hells, and inscribed with the same arcane incantations that adorn the soul of the warrior. It would seem that this mighty armor was passed down from hero to apprentice for centuries, until one man, driven by rage and vainglory, cast all 5 pieces from Abalathia's highest peak. Since that day, the armor has remained lost, and with it, the power that it harbors. As far as I can make out, the next passage in the Chronicles concerns the whereabouts of these missing artifacts, though I've only been able to make sense of the odd words thus far. Still, I must confess some excitement. Imagine what a warrior clad in such garb could achieve. If only my brother were here, we could decipher the text together and spread the teachings of our people through the entire realm. Alas, he is not. His whereabouts are hidden to me as those of the ancient armor. I would have liked you to meet him, if only so that you could have looked upon a true warrior. Well, perhaps you still shall. Eorzea is not as large as most people perceive. Paths cross, fates intertwine. Such is the will of the spinner. It may be that my brother has chosen a similar path to mine, but I rambled on long enough. You're here to take the next step in your training, so I shall oblige. In the southern reaches of Thanalan is the Sigali Desert, a godforsaken wasteland of naught but sand that stretches as far as the eye can see. It is here that the Leviathan of the Dunes lurks, a sandworm of gargantuan proportions. When facing this mammoth creature, you'll soon realize that the feeble hacks and slashes of your puny axe are ill-suited to the task of felling such a foe. But do not let it dissuade you. Wake the slumbering beast within, and in 3 easy steps, summon forth a strength that transcends the limits of your physical form. Mind you, first you'll have to find the beast, and that might prove a tall order in itself. The Ute tribe that inhabits the Forgotten Springs is wise to the movements of the denizens of the desert. Should you want for guidance, I'd wager they could set you in the right direction.
Alright. Let's do it. Off to Thanalan, the Sigali Desert. The goal of today is to finish the warrior quest, and, after a few hours, we're finally making headway. Alright, so is the Ute tribe, because they all have a U at the beginning of their name? They do! Does that mean the people in Limsa having initial apostrophe are of different tribes? Is that a tribe denotation? Like the old Cocos of the Thaumaturges? Are there naming conventions in Eorzea I'm not aware of? This seems pivotal. Alright. Hey, buddy. Goramuli.
The Leviathan of the Dunes. Saw the fearsome bugger not a week ago, preying on a group of merchants south of Birago's strike. The smart ones dropped their wares, turned tail and ran. The dumb ones, well, at least they can say they died rich.
That was a little dark. That was a little much.
I've seen the beast. Stands 3 moms high, he does, and stirs up sandstorms with each writhe and wriggle. Showed up in my hunting fields with some years ago, and has been swallowing up my would-be prey in that gaping maw of his ever since.
Okay. Ooh.
Sandworms are particularly sensitive to the vibrations in the earth, such as those made by running. If you're looking to summon one of the beasts, then I suggest you search for their tracks, then run about making as much of a clamor as possible. I would also suggest you seek a cure for your madness.
This can only end well. It has to. It has to end well. Okay. Seeker of the Sun. Okay, so long story short, Keeper of the Sun names are letter first name of father, or Nuntia. Oh. Keeper of the Moon have their own naming conventions. You know, it'd be cool is if they had a random name generator when you created your character that kind of told you that this is how it was coming up with names, and then you could override it with your own name if you wanted to. So that we had this, like, really immersive-based community of people. Oh my gosh. The act of landing in my soft little motorcycle brought on a giant sandworm. Easy. Alright, got my chocobo out. I don't think it's going to help with a lot of this because it's all going to be super low level. But I would love my chocobo to gain some experience. Nice. Slayed it. Wait, that was it? That was the whole thing? Oh man, you should not come back and do this 15 levels over leveled. My god. They do have a random name generator that gives you lore appropriate names, but it doesn't tell you how it works. It doesn't explain. It doesn't do one of those, like, if you want to know your Keeper of the Sun name, you would use, like, a significant male figure in your life after the initial and all that. Because based on the rules, you could come up with your own Keeper name. You know? Like, my biological dad's name is David. So I could be like, you, David, Tia, or something like that. I don't know. Here we go.
Ah! Meteor! Your crystal grows even stronger. In felling the raging sandworm, the beast within you slowly but surely rouses in at least 17 easy steps and 1 hard one to wakefulness. When you next do battle, methinks you would find yourself capable of movements hereto unfamiliar to you. When you have mastered your new talents, return to me. In the meanwhile, I shall continue to my study of the ancient texts.
How about right now? How about right now? That. Sometimes I ask for things and they already exist. So it sounds like there should be a way that they tell you this naming convention thing. Sounds like it already is out there. I just didn't know it existed. Here we go. Beast gauge unlocked.
Hello again, my friend. It's quite obvious that you have been anything but idle standing in front of me in your training since we last met moments ago. Your progress is heartening to look upon, truly, but it also serves to remind me that each hour I spend poring over ancient texts is an hour not spent honing my skills. I fear my worth on the battlefield is diminishing by the day, and if I order now, I may forget my talents entirely. Yet I'm certain that my studies of the Chronicles will yield something of use. In fact, just last night, I discovered how the warriors of my tribe came to be shunned by the outside world. Upon witnessing my people's prowess with the axe, the armies of the city-states began to incorporate similar techniques into their own training regimens. They are the self-same techniques that I have been instructing you in, Meteor. Ones which call upon the inner beast. The consequences, of course, were dire. Yes, their soldiers became nigh unstoppable, but they also became wholly uncontrollable. And both friend and foe fell prey to the ensuing carnage at no additional cost. Of course, the heads of the city-states lay to blame for these atrocities solely at the feet of my kind, promptly banning the ancient art and imprisoning anyone suspected of teaching it. Or so the Chronicles say. What I find hard to grasp, though, is that if I order now, it never once during my training did my brother hint at this dark history. Nor have I myself ever seen one of my tribe succumb to the rage that the Chronicles describe. Could it be that the tales are mere falsehoods? Stories concocted by some long-forgotten enemy who would poison our heritage and befoul our tribe's name? Who, in their right mind, would seek to sully something so pure? And why would my ancestors simply bow their heads and suffer in such ignominy? That my people would be so weak, so utterly bereft of pride, is inexplicable. I refuse to believe it. It matters not if these claims are groundless. If they prompted my tribe's art to fade into obscurity, then the damage has already been done. Well, I for one will not turn a blind eye to this injustice if none of my people will give the lie to the stories that have tarnished our reputation. It shall have to be me. But once again, I lube myself in history and forget the present. If you recall, I spoke to you of my former comrade, and from the company of heroes, the great woolly beast we have been pursuing. The beast remains on the loose, and to toss a pounce of salt on the wounds, fell creatures that appear to be its minions, having been wreaked havoc on the innocent residents of Wineport. Were you and I to succeed in quelling the threat, surely the people would see that warriors are no fearsome beast, but valuable allies. Together, Meteor, we'll win back our new proud name and all of its value, which I will keep the money for myself. Now, let us away to Wineport to meet with the captain of the militia. Here we go. I have a flying motorcycle. Otherwise, it'd be a real pain to get where he wants. Alright. Matoya's password is still her full name? Yeah, but that's like the fact that, like, legal names exist, right? Like, a lot of Chris's aren't Chris. A lot of Chris's have a longer legal name. Christopher, Christoph. There's a bunch of them. Cristobal. Depending on where you are in the world, there's a bunch of them out there. And so depending on where your family got the name, the Chris can be short for a lot of things. So, that's not weird. Christian. So that's not weird when you guys are still talking about, like, the naming conventions. And the fact that, like, they would use, like, Yishtola versus Stola. That's Chris versus something longer. Christian. Alright. Militia captain. I'm ready. I've been sent here.
My friends, Wineport is much obliged for your aid. The fiends come relentlessly, and what few able-bodied men we have find themselves hopelessly overmatched. Indeed, the western gates have been so besieged that they are currently left without any manned defense. Leave the defense to us, good man. I will secure the western gate. Meteor, you defend the town from the east. Together, we will form a bulwark that not a single fiend can penetrate. Once the enemy has been driven back, we return here to back up the captain. Got it, Meteor?
Why are they going with him? Why are they going with him? I thought that we could just handle it. I thought it was just him and just me. Because it feels like I'm having to go do this alone. Which is fine. I mean, I'm only supposed to be like level 35, but still. Excellent. I don't see anything. Just some grass raptors. A hand over there that looks demonic. Oh, these raptors over here have grown restless, however. It's okay, I got my axe.
Oh, that can't be real.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Why? Why would you pay that? Steel Rain. 40 months. 40. That's so many months. That's so many months. Your months have long since forgotten how they got their jobs done. Like, it's not even a big deal anymore. It's like, yeah, obviously. I'm level 40. Thank you so much. Restless Harrier down. Is that everybody? I defended it from attackers. It's crazy. Down we go.
Thank the 12, you're safe. We have need of your skills yet. I just heard a scream, and I fear that one of the beasts might be loose within the village. Come with me.
Here we go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You monster! Get away! Get away! Monster? But I... Come no closer, Meteor. I beg of you. I must return to the falls. Uh-oh. Here we go. I think this is about to get a little sad.
Whatever has gotten into Curious George? 'Tis true that he fought like a man possessed, but to mistake him for the very beast he hunts, I think the child's parents have been feeding her a few too many ghost stories for her own good. Worry not, friend. I shall speak to the villagers and clear up most of this unfortunate misunderstanding. Do return to the falls and assure Curious George that Wineport is indebted to him for his aid.
Alright. Flying motorcycle it up. Now, just to be clear, that conversation happened after he left the city walking slowly. He would then have to walk down to the ferry docks, take a ferry over, walk over here and down the river to get down below the cliffs. He would have to walk down this path, along here, to get to the waterfall. Now somehow, he left mere seconds before us, and here he sits. Incredible. Incredible. Meteor, please forgive me for leaving so abruptly earlier. It was a hasty reaction to a situation for which I was completely unprepared. While both you and I know I was in complete control of my inner beast, I now realize that to the layman's eye, it may have seemed that, well, the opposite was true. Mayhap it is this very misapprehension that lent weight to the lies which fed to my tribe's disgrace. And if that is the case, then perhaps I should return once more to the Chronicles, and endeavor to reassess their message in light of this discovery. Speaking of light, your soul crystal, Meteor, it sparkles. Does the soul of the warrior have aught to reveal to you? Any whispers of import? If I order now, would we get a second crystal for free? Well, if only they hadn't forsaken me, as they did my brother. Yes, well, I suppose that's that. I must continue my studies, and you, your training. I hope that you have something new for both of us very soon. Until then, my friend. How about right now? How about right now? Nailed it. Welcome again, my friend. I appreciate you keeping me company for these short minutes since we last spoke. I was wondering when your travels would bring you back this way, and little did I know you would never leave. It just so happens that I have somehow, since we last spoke, gotten some exciting news. I finally uncovered, in just 9 easy steps, the clues pertaining to the whereabouts of the lost armor of my ancestors. As it turns out, after the fallen hero cast the 5 pieces from the mountaintop, which you can collect all 5 of his pupils set out to recover them, intending to restore their master's name by collecting the full set, a value of untold proportions. What is more, they were actually successful in their search. However, when it came to reuniting the set, that, if you order now, you can collect all of, the armor's great power began to work upon their minds. Not one could bring himself to relinquish his piece. Realizing then that their master's fatal pride was born in the artifacts, combined influence, the pupils resolved to keep the pieces separate, and to share between the 5 the power that might otherwise have consumed one. Thus did each man of them carve his own place in history. The chronicles go on to say that years later, prior to death, each of the pupils returned to the scene, his own greatest victory, and buried the artifact in his possession in a final attempt to prevent any one warrior from holding the set, which we will now aim to do. And that is where the pieces still rest. You may be interested to know that the armor I wear itself is a replica of the set crafted by my ancestors, identical in all respects, save for its lack of arcane enchantments that adorned the original. I know what you might be thinking. If we were to bring the 5 pieces together once more, what would prevent us from being corrupted in the same fashion? Well, I have thought of that. What we need is to trace the ruins we find on the armor onto every piece of warrior gear. That way, if there is a curse, we have spread it as much as possible. There would be no need to worry about a single proud fool becoming drunk in his all-surpassing power, because every warrior in the realm would be possessed with the ability to slay thousands. It's quite brilliant, if I do say so myself. So, how about we split up and begin the search straight away? 3 of the locations seem quite self-evident. I would entrust the search there while you and I track down the other 2 with tome in hand. One piece is said to be buried under the great rocks of Boulder Downs in Querthos, while another slumbers peacefully at Camp Tranquil in South Shroud. The last of the 3 rests untouched at Parata's Peace in western Thanalan. Unearth those 3 relics and bring them to me. With any measure of fortune, I'll have tracked down the 2. I will then possess the only set, and I will become all-powerful. This is a good plan. What could go wrong, guys? What could go wrong? Oh my god. Becca, thank you so much. Moody Moomba is not only delightful, but this week has the impressive honor of reaching rarefied air. She hit her Omni 90. I'm very, very jealous. It's very impressive. Alright, let's go see if we can merge together the pieces which should never be merged. They've worked very hard to make sure that these pieces are never reunited, so step 1, let's go get the pieces reunited. What level quest are we on? We're on 45. So like we're going to find out what happens when these reunite, because we've got one more step after this, which I assume is what happens when you put them all together. Which can only be well. That's why they spent all of that time hiding them. Because they were like, we don't want good things. That's the only reason people hide anything. It definitely couldn't be that we are bringing about destruction. It's gonna be fine. If you cast Infuriate one time while having all 5 of these pieces equipped, you just murder your entire free company. Oh god, what's here? A Turia? Hello! Oh, it's being protected by like a giant slimy crab thing. With a name. Hi, my friend. Oh, you're dead. Well, that explains why nobody's gathered from this chest before that's right out in the open. I expected it to maybe be buried a little bit. King's Dot, how are you guys doing? Lords and ladies, welcome in. We are finishing up our warrior quest line. Welcome, Raiders. What if that was a pet? It may have been a pet. I may have killed somebody's pet. But, you know, like, that has to happen. We are reuniting the 5 pieces of Lost Warrior armor that they have strived for generations to keep separate. That for hundreds of years kept separate. So if we have to murder somebody's pet to make that happen... I mean, they hid them because they were afraid somebody would become all-powerful. And our plan is to duplicate the sets, because as long as lots of people are powerful, that would only end even better. Right? That's, like, you can't have a supervillain if you give the large super weapon Death Ray to everybody. That's totally fine. It's really fine. For anybody that's new in here as I wrap this quest up, I am a long-time Final Fantasy player. I've been around since the early months of ARR, but I was a story skipper until in Shadowbringers. When Shadowbringers was coming out, Yoshi P said, hey, we wrote Shadowbringers so that it could not just be enjoyed by people that have been following the story, but long-time story skippers and returners can enjoy it. And so I came on board story-wise in Shadowbringers, loved Endwalker, and that made me want to go back and play all the stories that I have that I've skipped over the years. And I'm a warrior main, and I don't know my warrior story. So, I am doing all the ARR stuff right now. So today, I've gone from rewatched me getting my Jobstone that I had so I could finish up ARR. We rewatched my old Jobstone playthrough, and then we have done 35, 40, and we are on 45. And we'll stop at 50, and then the goal is to clear all the ARR plus sign quests. All the extra dungeons, Halatali, Cutter's Cry, Arum Vale, Dasmel Darkhold, Temple of Karn, Binding Coils, which I don't know, Crystal Tower, which I don't know, Emerald Salamander. That salamander did look special now that you mention it. That might have been somebody's pet. These might be pets. We might be slaying people's pets. Alright, so let's go. The quest is called, Looking the Part. It might have been a mistranslation. It might have been Looking for Pet, and we're just out here slaying people's old pets that have been left to protect these treasures. That might be some tragedy that you've inserted there, Fido. So, let's head down here. I don't know that I'm min-item leveling them. I'd like to at some point. My fear is that that's a lot of progression. And so, what I want is I want to stay ahead of their redoing parts of ARR. So like they redid Tamtara, they redid Praetorium, they redid... And so I'm trying to clear all of this the way it was, as best as possible, prior to it coming out. Just in like the dungeon layouts and all of that. So my concern with doing Binding Coil's minimum item level is that it's going to stall me out, because prior to 6.2, which is probably in August, I need to have cleared all of the rest of ARR, and I need to have cleared the base of Heavensward, because they said they might get to the first couple dungeons of Heavensward. And so I'd like to do those the old way, because I think it's really cool that I got to do Toto Rock the way it was, and now I've gone back and done Toto Rock the way it is, with an awareness of why we're in Toto Rock, which I never knew until now. I had no idea. And so it would be very hard to progress on this because I'm on Oceanic. So I would need to find a group that could min item level clear this prior to 6.2 on Oceanic. It'd be easier to have my main do minimum item level after I know the story. So I think my plan is to kind of like, I don't want to go in there unsynced and just wreck it. I'd like to go in there and like guaranteed one pull it. Don't see all the mechanics, just kind of kill it. So probably like synced is fine. Or if it's unsynced, go in there with like 60s, not 90s. So that we kind of tear it down, but I get to actually see mechanics instead of just one-shotting it. Because when I clear it for Wondrous Tales, I still don't know story, because everything just dies in one hit. So I'd love to kind of get a feel for it. I don't want it to feel like Cape Westwind. Which I haven't gone and done the new Cape Westwind. See, it's a named toad. These are definitely pets. These are 100% significant beasts of old. They've been here protecting these. Which I can't believe I never opened this. I saw this chest when I passed through here. It's right out in the open. I didn't have to dig for it or anything. But I'm enjoying Oceanic because it's letting me have the road to 80 buff. I ended up here because my server at the time was not allowing new characters to be created, but it's been a nice silver lining. Because it's made it very easy to go unlock all the class quests. Because you can hit 30 while slowing down and chatting about the quests and stuff in like 2 or 3 hours. And honestly, like, it's only a couple hours to do 30 to 50. Today, the goal was the warrior quest, but I didn't start until stream was 2 hours in. And we're 45 minutes in, and we're basically done. So it's like an hour. It's super, super fast. I'll see most mechanics if we unsync them. Okay. I would rather wait till Data Center Visit 6.18, which is probably, if I had to put a date on it, probably July. And then do some unsynced on my main. Alright, here we go.
How fares your search, Meteor? Have you found aught of the tribe's ancient relics? Should you have 3 pieces of armor, don them and show them to me.
You know, I'll be honest, I thought he was just going to take them from me. Okay. Okay. Step 1, put the boots and pants on while in water. Have any of you ever gotten dressed in a flowing river? This is a terrible idea.
Ah, Meteor, you have found the gear. It is most gratifying, but what I would truly fancy would be to see you in it.
I just got naked for you and put it on.
Wait! Stand still for a moment. The armor so becomes you I could not tell you had it on in the first place, even though I saw you take off your pants right in front of me. But now I can have no doubts. I sense the power of the runes inscribed on each piece resonating with your soul crystal. This is the long-lost armor of the warrior spreading over those muscular blue thighs. I too have found one of the relics, but I have run into an unexpected rub. When I donned the piece, I felt nothing, as if the lost treasure were no different from unadorned replicas already in my possession. Whether the power has been lost to it, or must needs be awakened by means yet unknown to me, this I cannot say. The ancient texts may still hold mysteries beyond my ability to decipher, but before I forget, I should mention to you that I did indeed track down another piece before I was waylaid by this current conundrum.
You should find it sealed away at Red Mantis Falls.